Majors was arrested in New York on charges of strangulation,
assault, and harassment.
The other night, Jonathan Majors was arrested for strangulation and assault.
Dia arrested. Kita semua tahu ya bahwa Jonathan Majors ini terkenal karena memerankan Kang.
This woman has claimed, it's an unidentified woman, should I say, has claimed that Majors struck her about the face with an open hand, causing substantial pain and a laceration behind her ear. She also alleges that Jonathan Majors grabbed her hand and put his hands on her neck,
stemming from a domestic dispute with a 30-year-old white woman. Let's be clear, another brother selling out.
Our sources say police were told the girlfriend saw another woman texting Majors and she confronted him, trying to sneak a peek at his phone. We're told that the alleged victim girlfriend claims that this got Majors mad and that he allegedly grabbed her hand and allegedly slapped her. We're also told that the alleged victim claims he put his hands around her neck during this, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what's really happening. This is all he said, she said, taxi driver said.
Hey, you know what? Anytime you say strangulation, ain't nothing light about that.
No,
that's a big word. Yeah. No. You still put your hands around somebody's neck.
Right.
Choke them out, you know?
Right.
Man, this thing is so early. But, and the thing is, even when, right now, with us simply saying, I don't want to say much because these are all allegations. He said, she said. The story is still shifting. People mad about that. You know he did that shit.
You just don't want to admit it.
You know he beat that woman's ass. Or you got other people. Man, that bitch, she lying. You know she's just trying to get paid. Come on, man. Recognize it for what, people want you to take a side.
It's that tribalism. Yeah, no, they want you to make a declarative statement on, even if you have any facts or no facts.
I just want to have the grace of taking all the facts in first. So right now we're stating that he did call 911. The representatives, they've released a statement following his arrest saying he has done nothing wrong. We look forward to clearing his name and clearing this up. Majors was released from custody that next day. Criminal defense lawyer Prior Chaudhry explained that Majors is completely innocent and is probably the victim of an altercation with a woman he knows. We're quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney with the expectation that all charges will be dropped. She has recanted. But just because she recants doesn't mean that the state won't continue filing charges or continue to go along with the arrest.
So let's kind of just get into it. The news of Jonathan Majors' arrest broke. Twitter users began making the perspective known on the Avengers 5 actor. Back in February, filmmaker A.B. Allen tweeted about a beloved actor who is actually vicious, cruel, and an abusive human being. There's a particular actor, relatively new on the scene, who Twitter has violently fallen head over heels for, who, in actuality, is a vicious, cruel, abusive human being, both professionally and in his personal life. And every new viral thirst tweet about him drives me insane. The specifics of what I know, unfortunately, would still expose people who have been hurt and deserve to not become a part of some larger media inquiry, if they do not want to. So I'm not going to get into the details. But now y'all know what his deal is. So, not a good look, dude. Not a good look. Society Theater co-founder and Broadway actor-director Tim Nicolai offered support on Twitter in posts that have since been made private, sharing that it's strangely a relief to know other humans were out there who understand. I'm just going to say this about Jonathan Majors and be done with it. Folks at Yale and the broader New York City community have known about him for years. He's a sociopath, an abuser. That is how virtually everyone speaks about him. It's a shame it took this long for him to be reported. Holy fucking shit, dude. Okay, so again, not a good look. Let's read through, and we'll continue to talk about it. Because, of course, like, look, I totally understand. Some of you guys, you're probably super triggered. You're like, dude, what the fuck? This is all just hearsay bullshit. I will grant you that. I will explain it. At the end of the day, there's a person that was arrested, and then the fucking shit came out the closet. That is what it is. Okay? And this is why I say the whole situation sucks. Because what am I supposed to do? Ignore this shit? Just go to bat for a guy I don't fucking know at all? No, man, we're going to get into the facts. We're going to talk about both sides, and we're going to try to see what it is. I'm already seeing a bunch of, why didn't you do anything, folks? People have tried. Ultimately, needed a victim to come forward. It's both simultaneously awful to know he is still doing this, and also a relief that he may never get to again. I mean, that's wild to say. You know what I mean? If that is coming from a place of complete fiction and fabrication, then that is a weird person that said that. Nikolai did not want to expose people who want to remain quiet. A bunch of us are close with people, and sometimes multiple people he has directly harmed. I don't know if they will speak on it. It is completely their decision. Holy shit. Nikolai explained that if casting directors like you, that's the currency. But nobody would call his ex's girlfriend at the time directors, professors. They just don't do that. I think that was in reference to why he wasn't vetted properly. If this is a known thing, why wasn't it caught? That's the explanation. The actor went on to share that literally people, Jonathan Majors, did this too, are texting me right now. It's not, I heard. Strong. If we're going to give credit to as strong as a rebuke as Majors' lawyer put out yesterday, I think it's fair to give credit to the strength of those statements on social media.
That person has now come out and said that when they made that tweet, yes, it was about Jonathan Majors, but it was not a reference to physical abuse. It was a reference to psychological abuse. This is an unfolding story. In fact, just this week, we did get text messages from the girlfriend. Please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged. They said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. I'm so angry that they did. I'm so sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the hospital. Just call me when you're out. I love you. 3.5 hours later, they just called again to check on me, and I reiterated how this was not an attack, and they do not have my blessing to place any charges or on any charges being placed. I read the paper they gave me about strangulation, and I said point blank, did not occur and should be removed immediately. The judge is definitely going to be told this. She assured this to me. I know you have the best team, and there's nothing to worry about. I just want you to know that I'm doing all I can on my end. I also said to tell the judge to know that the origin of the call was to do with me collapsing and passing out, and your worry as my partner due to our communication prior, out of care. She promised all will be relayed. That's something that I didn't point out. Now, this is me talking. From what I've been able to ascertain, he's the one that called the police. But that's what we know so far. Go ahead.
Those texts don't sound like it was fake.
Kale, was the presumption that this isn't like that the texts were staged? What did you mean?
Well, I guess that's because I've seen that texts were presented, and maybe it's just headline sensationalism that I was taking, but yeah, that's how I was expecting to hear it, as the whole thing was staged, for a lack of another term. But this to me sounds like a serial abuse victim trying to keep their life going and keep, the abuser at bay.
This is very, very hard for me. I love Jonathan Majors. Acting, I've really appreciated what he's been doing. I loved him in Lovecraft Country, where I believe I first saw him, and everything he's been in since then, I've gone and seen. When there's a black actor in Hollywood, a male black actor, I immediately want to see what they're into and what they're up to, and they become aspirational because it's like, wow, how rare is this? A celebrated black man. Like, you go back to the 90s, we had Denzel and who, so it means so much. When I see a black man get accused of something like this, especially when he's the one that called the cops, I have a lot of friends that have been accused of shit they didn't do. A lot of friends. Who was accused of something I'm not going to say here that's awful. He got arrested for it. I'm the one that bailed him out. I know he didn't do it. It was all bullshit. It was proven after the fact. But an accusation was made, so he got courted off right to prison with no evidence. With no evidence. These are real things that happen. That being said, when I saw those texts, all the doubt that I had went away. Because without getting specific, I know a lot about women in domestic violence situations. And those texts are from a woman who is being psychologically and physically abused. I cannot be convinced otherwise unless there's hard evidence that that's not true. I am normally very much the person to say wait and see, especially when we're talking about a black man. But those texts are not from a person who is doing anything other than trying desperately to retain that relationship and not piss him off. And the key for me was that there was hours that went by between texts of her trying to reassure him, and he did not respond. So she felt like she needed to text again because she is scared. Yeah. That's what I read. And when I saw that, I said, this piece of shit is putting his hands on women and he should be gone. But I will say this. Anybody who's saying that about Jonathan Majors, but said Ezra deserves a pass, fuck you.
I know that there's some people who are saying like, oh, you know, like that's what a victim would say and blah, blah, blah. Looking at just those first texts on face value, I can see that that is not an insane position, but it is still an insane position to persecute him before we actually know the context of what all of that meant. I mean, who knows what she meant by that? My other thought is, you know, some people are quite media savvy. She may have anticipated that she needs to write a text that to him sounds like, oh, I'm trying to vindicate you. But, you know, when it comes to a court of law, she can still use it and say, no, I wasn't saying, you know. So you have to be aware of that. People are quite media savvy and know exactly how to write a text so that in a court of law, it can kind of run the way they want the narrative to run. If you look at Johnny Depp, if you look at Arnie Hammer, if you look at Ezra Miller, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think any of their agencies or management dropped them within 2 weeks of a fucking allegation.
So are we just going to sit here and pretend that Ezra Miller having a job while Jonathan Majors getting fired is an absolute proof that Hollywood is still racist? Now, there's kind of two camps in terms of this whole Jonathan Majors situation. One camp is of the opinion that it's absolutely insane that he's been fired from as many projects as he's been fired from, all over allegations that he hasn't even been to court for. The other camp points out that it's really weird that Disney has been completely silent.
The Army pulled their recruiting ads featuring him, and the University of Pennsylvania canceled his speaking engagement. He was dropped from a feature film adaptation of Walter Mosley's novel, The Man in My Basement. He was axed from an Otis Redding biopic, and an ad campaign he was set to be featured in for the Texas Rangers was shelved. His role as Kang the Conqueror is also up in the air, and he got dropped by both his talent manager and his PR firm, The Lead Company, in April 2023. Dang, dog. The fact that his PR firm decided to part ways with him is actually a big deal. They represent some of the top entertainers, including Will Smith, Kerry Washington, and Rihanna. Their job is to shape the public's perception of their client and to manage their client's reputation through media relations. So why would his PR company drop him when he needed them the most? Surely they could have put a little spin on his recent charges to maintain his fan base and to keep his work opportunities intact, right? Most people expected Jonathan to slowly repair his disgraced image, but no one expected him to pop up and pop out with a new girlfriend so quickly. And we really didn't expect him to be seen with someone like Megan. They were photographed exiting the aircraft and entering an awaiting vehicle. The footage was captured by a photographer for Backgrid USA, a celebrity photo agency.
It's not over. More alleged victims are reportedly saying they were abused by Jonathan Majors. Right, you might remember last month, Majors was arrested in New York over an alleged assault, with a woman telling the NYPD that Majors struck her with an open hand and put his hands on her neck, though Majors has maintained his innocence and his lawyer even suggesting that he is the victim of the altercation. But now, according to a new report from Variety, more alleged victims are cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Now, in response to this, Majors' lawyer gave a statement to the LA Times saying Variety's report is baseless and adding Jonathan Majors is innocent and has not abused anyone. Mr. Majors is currently considering his legal options. But the Times also saying that Majors' legal team has submitted video evidence that, quote, appears to show the accuser uninjured and out on the town after parting ways with Majors on the night of the incident. But as far as what happens on the legal side here, we're going to have to watch. His next court appearance is scheduled for May.
So Jonathan Majors' court hearing was this morning, May 9th. The DA decided to upgrade his charges to reflect the alleged accuser's new allegations, which could carry up to a 12-month sentence. Instead of dropping the charges in the face of proven lies, the DA has adjusted the charges to match the new lies that have been made. When they presented that new evidence over a week ago where they showed the surveillance of the alleged woman going and partying after the alleged altercation took place in the car, flipping her hair back, using the hand that she said the finger was broken on, and not only that, but they showed her possibly headbutting herself on the DJ table, partying, having a good time without any alleged appearance of injury. Once they put that out, now it seems that it's possible that the alleged accuser told the DA something else, which is why Jonathan's attorney is saying there's a claimed location shift of where the altercation took place. According to Deadline, in the initial complaint, the woman claimed she was hit about the face and that he allegedly forcibly took her hand and also allegedly put his hand on her neck. But in the court hearing today, the claims of his hand being on her neck were gone, but they added he allegedly grabbed her right arm, placed it behind her body, and used his hands to twist her right forearm and right middle finger, and he pushed her into the car. And so this is new. This wasn't on the initial complaint that was made on March 25th, that Saturday, when the police came and arrested Jonathan after he called them. The lawyer said the body cam shows, they allegedly had the police coaching her to say that he put hands around her throat. They said the officers were pantomiming what she should say. So they're like, showing her, hey, did he grab you? And probably grabbing her arm. Or, hey, did he put his hands here? And probably, clutching their throat or something. Eventually, you see her leaving the club. She gets to Jonathan's building around 3:23 a.m. in the morning. Sees he's not there. She then calls Jonathan 32 times on the phone, sends him several angry, jealous text messages again, and then locks herself in the bedroom, throws up in his bed, and then apparently passes out on the floor of his closet.
Dana White actually went Creed on his girl, but didn't face the backlash that Jonathan Majors is facing. 100%. I know that video came out. There was a few, talk about it, and then it just disappeared, and it's all business for him again. We've said it many times that there is a double standard when it comes to white people and black people in Hollywood. We are always the villains. You know what I mean? We are always the ones that are in the wrong. And even when you have a white man out there who's on video doing something wrong, they still try and find a way to flip it and make it like, oh, well, she did something first or something like that. It's just ridiculous, man. On Twitter, same dudes defending Johnny Depp are calling Majors guilty. Yeah, that's a problem. You know what I mean? That's a big problem. But at the end of the day, we got to wait another month until we find out what's going on. Hopefully, it'll get taken care of before that.
I'm not gonna lie, the story went so many ways. At first, it looked like she was lying, and then it looked like she was telling the truth. Like every 2 weeks, something would come out, and people would be like, "Knew it, he was innocent," or "Knew it,
he's guilty.
He beats women."
Just beats them. Jonathan Majors, amazing actor. As time has progressed, there has been more and more conflicting evidence and information has come out. But recently, there's been very hard-hitting evidence that has been reported now that is claimed that it's borderline impossible that he could have done this. People went out. Of course, they said, gotta believe him. Gotta believe her.
Why would she lie?
Why would she? So the first bit of evidence that was a bit contradictory was a body cam footage that on the police when his girlfriend, what is her name? I want to make sure I get her name. It just says his girlfriend. Damn, that bitch ain't got a name.
She's just a girlfriend, man.
It just say girlfriend. So the first bit of evidence came out is that this is on body cam footage. She constantly saying over and over again, what happened? Why my finger broken? What happened to my ear? What's going on? I don't know what happened. They would ask her, what happened? I don't know. There's some reports claiming that she said, I don't know, to the police 15 to 20 times. It went from questioning to the police coaching her through what happened. He choked you. Just say he choked you, okay? Just say that. Just say he choked you. Your boyfriend did this. That's what he did.
There's also a remarkable amount of evidence that proves human memory is horrible, especially when it comes to traumatic events, when it comes to bopping or seeing someone die. The brain sucks at remembering stuff like that. So,
or possibly when you're blacked out drunk, because that's what happened here. So this is now the new evidence. The driver is a chauffeur. This is a separate company, a separate entity from Jonathan Majors, and he said that he's willing to testify with this as well. The irony of it all is that in this altercation in the car, Jonathan Majors never raised his voice, never lifted a hand. And if anything, as the chauffeur claimed himself, his girlfriend is the one who was assaulting him.
It's crazy. That is fucking insane.
Insane.
Also, that's so common that I guess he's so big and strong, a little glazed, that you don't think that assault should matter when it's happening to him.
Of course not.
He could take a couple hits to the head or whatever.
Absolutely.
He just did a fucking boxing movie, didn't he?
Yep.
He took hella hits to the head for the movie. So what? She's gonna knock him out? That's what people's thinking. They just think it does no damage. Yep. It doesn't matter. It should just be excused.
Jonathan Major yells, stop the car, tries to get out the car, and as he's attempting to get out the car, she's still yanking him in the car, yanking him, and even rips his jacket in the process of doing so. Jonathan Majors got out the car. He's such a great guy, good fucking guy, man. Some fans said, "Is that Jonathan Majors? Oh my God, take a picture!" He obliged and took a picture after getting bopped in a car, man.
That's insane.
Insane.
What are the odds?
And she's out partying, clubbing. There's gonna be another clip with her at a DJ booth.
Nah, having a blast.
Having a blast, man. Having a blast. So she's at the DJ booth, hugging the DJ. It seems like she's fine. Something happened with her between that moment to where she goes back to Jonathan Majors' loft and blacks out. Jonathan Majors comes back. He leaves the hotel, comes back to his loft after he's cooled down after the altercation. He goes into his loft. He goes to get the handyman to unlock the door, and they found her half naked inside the closet.
You know how lucky you had to be that the right people,
I know,
like the driver was there and the fans were there, and each way he had an alibi that he could reference, because that's not everyone's situation. Like, it's difficult. Like, he's lucky he's as popular as he is, because a person who doesn't have that fame or notoriety, you don't have those alibis. Now there's this allegation against you and you're cooked. How the fuck do you prove you didn't do it? You came home and she's there. Statistically, the odds are you're the one who did it.
Also, part of the body cam footage, allegedly there are the police were making, how could a black guy afford this type of penthouse, like in the lines of those type of comments, because they didn't know who Jonathan Majors was at the time.
That's insane.
August 3rd is when they're going to go to court, but there seems to be an overwhelming amount of evidence that will point to the favor that Majors is innocent, and if anything, he was the one who was the victim of that night. He did everything he was supposed to do right, and the result is still that he got dropped by his management team. He lost potential opportunities. The irony of it all is that he was the one who was assaulted. He was the one who was a victim. He's the one who called the police, and he's the one who still got arrested. He's the one who is still going to lose a lot more opportunities because people have already made up their mind, even if more information gets put out, and he is the one who is going to be made an example of and lose way more in the process than she will. Way more. Taking sleeping pills in this man's penthouse and all that stuff is not out yet, but apparently there's video footage of him also trying to exit the car and her pull him back in over and over and over again.
This actually pisses me off, bro.
Yeah.
This pisses me the fuck off, man.
So after you're being assaulted in a car and things have just went south for you, why would you be pulling on somebody's coat? Was there something on the street that you needed to protect him from getting into harm's way so he wouldn't be hit? Why would you be pulling the coat of the guy who hurt you? He's leaving. No, come back. Hit me more. That's illogical. Major spent the rest of the night at an Upper East Side hotel. Phone records show he sent her a breakup text. He sends her a breakup text, phone records, so that you can't fight that. It exists. Then turned off his phone. Prosecutors have the contact information for at least one of these witnesses, but they have not shared it with the defense, Chaudhry told Insider. Meanwhile, they refuse to prosecute her for allegedly assaulting him or for Rolex watches and diamond jewelry that she took from the apartment. She robbed him. Marvel's Jonathan Majors has filed an NYPD domestic violence complaint against his assault accuser and ex-girlfriend, and we're not going to say her name. Why, Dwayne Johnson?
It doesn't matter what her name was.
And what is she after, primetime players?
Millions of dollars.
Because she's nothing but a what, Chris Jericho?
The filthiest, dirtiest, most disgustingly skankiest, brutal, bottom-feeding trash bag hoe.
We're going to call her Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie McMahon, in which he alleges that she attacked him. Steph attacked him, not the other way around. So what she said is what he's saying. It's a he said, she said. A second NYPD precinct is also involved in investigating the actor's counterclaims against Stephanie McMahon of The Authority, which Insider wrote about in detail last week. We read that. We loved it, Laura. Both precincts found probable cause to arrest McMahon. Both of them. 2. And issued what is called an incident card or an I-card, an electronic document that directs police to take Steph into custody. Steph McMahon's going into custody. That's the next goal. Since June 21st till now, I'm recording this on the 28th of June. Maybe it had already happened. And if it did, guys, where is the news headlines? Where is those YouTube thumbnails about her character being recast or whatever else it is? Get on it. Come on, guys. You guys were, it's like people are so ignorant to the Emmett Till story and just to the history of lying to the cops on black men. But the Manhattan persecutors who are pursuing the case against Jonathan Majors were for some reason, racism, reluctant to turn the tables on Steph. Stephanie McMahon is impune. And at the district attorney's office is urging that the iCard was deactivated.
The Rolling Stone came out with an article on June 28th, and it's entitled Jonathan Majors' Extreme Abuse Allegedly Goes Back Nearly a Decade. Every person the Rolling Stone spoke to requested anonymity. So this is all hearsay. This has no legal bearing. This is basically a gossip column.
When I read this article, I picked it apart.
Right now in the news feed, if you just Google Jonathan Majors, you're gonna hear that. You're gonna hear about this article, not about all the stuff undermining his court case. You got to scroll down a little bit for that. All right, so let me read. During the 3-month investigation, Rolling Stone spoke with more than 40 people who have known Mr. Majors during his time in graduate school, his Hollywood career, and his romantic relationships. Many describe Mr. Majors as being a complicated, unpredictable, and sometimes violent man who can switch from charming to cold in a flash. Parentheses. All of the sources from this article requested anonymity, citing fear of career repercussions and personal retribution from Majors. Some claim they were prohibited from speaking. Quote, my only response can be that I am silenced by an NDA he had me sign, end quote, says one person who worked with Mr. Majors, in parentheses. All right. Their story suggests a pattern of alleged physical, mental, and emotional abuse that dates back decades to Majors' time at Yale David Geffen School of Drama, where he was involved in physical altercations and continued to the sets of his movies and TV shows where production members raised concerns over his treatment of the crew. Return to the article. Most seriously, more than a dozen sources collectively claimed to Rolling Stone that Majors allegedly abused 2 romantic partners, one physically, both of them emotionally. And I quote, it was pervasively known that he was a good actor and that he would terrorize the people that he dated, end quote, one of the sources said. Majors allegedly strangled one woman he was dating and was mentally and emotionally abusive with her. 9 of the sources claim. The second woman allegedly told friends that her relationship with Majors was, and I quote, emotionally torture, end quote. One thing I don't like that the Rolling Stone article does is they try to give weight behind their allegations by citing multiple unknown sources.
Yeah, this is sloppy journalism at best. They give more authority to their statements by saying that there's 10 people or 2 people or whatever, and then they provide one quote, and that one quote can seem outrageous. Like, he made me sign an NDA. NDAs are a common practice in Hollywood. You can't even attend most after parties without signing an NDA in Hollywood, right?
Okay.
So NDAs are very, very common practice, and just because this person may have been in an event or a movie or something like that where he made me sign an NDA, it was a requirement to attend. One thing that I will say is that I dislike the fact that this is a very one-sided view of things, with only 3 statements really provided in this entire article. And those 3 statements are basically saying we can't say anything, or it was like an emotional, what did they say?
Yeah.
Emotionally traumatizing or whatever.
Torture. Yeah.
Emotional torture, right? And someone may feel that way about an ex.
Let me go back to the article and read the work portion of it. Mr. Majors was aggressive at work as well, according to the sources. Most recently, on the set of an upcoming film, Magazine Dreams, 2 production members claimed that 33-year-old actor pushed one person while on set and physically intimidated another while screaming at them, lending to a complaint to the producers. The sources say executive producers warned them to give Mr. Majors his space. Now, is this plausible? Absolutely. We have evidence where Christian Bale acted like this. Ellen, yeah, a Hollywood elite being a spoiled brat, and then this guy is, on a lot of Mexican supplements and being a little testy. Yeah, totally believable. When you produce an article like this, the light that you're trying to shine on Mr. Majors to make him look guilty, like he's some savage who's just bullying people around. I mean, this is unfair when it's based in hearsay. If they were to write this article when he's not hot news for a domestic violence case, bring it on. I think he should get more publicity. But right now, it's going to negatively affect his court case.
This article should not have been written, period. And it's the consistent nature of articles like this and others that create so much tension. And I'm not an attorney, and maybe you can shed some light on this, but an article like this would open up the door for Rolling Stones to receive a lawsuit from Mr. Majors, because it is very much damning.
If he was caught on camera thumping this poor lady, then throw on the heat on him. But in the situation, it sounds like this was a spat.
If he did commit physical violence against a woman, that's not okay. That should never happen. But the evidence tends to lean more so now towards proving his side of the story, saying that she became physically violent, and all the photographic evidence now that we have of her still clubbing hours after the fact, the text messages that she sent and that kind of stuff, all of that evidence is starting to pile up. And so as the favor tends to shift towards Jonathan Majors in this case, as far as the allegations that were made against him, and then his statements about what really happened.
Right.
As the favor starts to shift towards his direction, all the news and the media attention is shifting the complete opposite direction.
I don't know what's going on here, but we're going to get some answers on August 2nd. Again, these are misdemeanors. I would be flabbergasted if this man saw any time. I'm thinking of fine and community service. I think Ms. Jabari should be absolutely charged with the crime, but our society just doesn't have the guts to do that.
Well. Imagine that you get into a relationship with a rising superstar in Hollywood, and at the end of your relationship, you end up fleeing the country. Update: Hollywood actor Jonathan Majors arrived in New York criminal court today for trial, only to learn that prosecutors aren't ready to present their case. The problem is that his accuser has fled the country, and NYPD is looking to charge her with assault. His girlfriend, Megan Good, was by his side during the brief appearance. Today, in the New York criminal court, Hollywood actor Jonathan Majors made an appearance for his trial, only to encounter a major delay, as the prosecution was not prepared to present their case. See, and I was sitting there wondering, I'm like, what's going on? Why? Why are y'all misstepping? Y'all wanted to prosecute him. Y'all kept pushing it, destroying the man's career. Disney not mention him. And then Disney started to mention him in their advertising, and I was like, okay, this is a good thing. This must mean that they know something we don't know. It must mean that he's got enough evidence to where Disney heads probably know, and they're like, clearly you are innocent and you will be proven innocent. Let's keep the ball rolling.
Jonathan Majors appeared in court for his August 3rd trial today at 9 a.m. The case has been postponed partly because prosecution claims that they're still in discovery. Defense claims that the prosecution has not turned over all of their evidence. They turned over what they had at the moment yesterday, 5 p.m. I am just total confusion about this because it's like this case came about back in March. The defense presented information in May stating that their client was innocent. So to me, all the information that you needed was presented at that time.
We know that she left New York because she is from England. And so therefore she was not here on a permanent visa or anything like that. So she went back to her home country. So she did not flee the jurisdiction. She left. So what's going to be interesting to see is if she is going to return back to New York for this trial.
So Jonathan Majors' trial gets pushed back yet again. In this situation, the DA actually did answer up, ready for trial. But it was actually the defense that said, hey, no, this case is not ready to go to trial. We still have outstanding discovery issues. The DA still owes us discovery. A reasonable amount of time before trial, the DA is supposed to turn over your police reports, witness statements, photographs, and videos. In a domestic violence case, you might have medical records. The DA has the ethical obligations to turn over the discovery. They haven't done so, at least that's what the defense position is, and they're not going to proceed to trial until the DA has met their ethical obligation. So that's a solid move by the defense. I still believe at the end of the day, this case should be dismissed as against Jonathan Majors. I think the DA is going to have a difficult time getting Jonathan Majors' ex-girlfriend back to the United States, to New York, where she could be subjected to arrest.
Remember, she was supposed to be injured. She was supposed to have a laceration behind her ear. He was supposed to talk. This big black man talks to this little skinny white woman in the car, and there's no marks, there's no nothing. Her arms is visible, her wrist is visible. There's no bruising or nothing on there. There's nothing. Look, if your ear was lacerated, how are you getting a hug without saying, in the words of Peter Griffin? You know what I mean? She's just distraught.
Okay, so I know where I live. So I live in 7th Avenue. Okay, let's get you. I started texting my mum saying, I'm supposed to be kissing you. And I was like, I can't.
Alright, fair game, girlie.
This is the messenger Entertainment. Stephanie McMahon, the woman who was accused Jonathan Majors of domestic violence, will soon be charged with assault 7 months after the actor's March arrest, according to the office of the Deputy Commissioner, Public Information for the New York Police Department, who exclusively confirmed the domestic violence charges to the Messenger on Monday night. Now, Mr. Majors was also in another incident. Social media reacts to the footage of Jonathan Majors breaking up a fight between two teenage girls. And they scrapping, and I don't know why they parting this part out. They show everything else. The girl is over here the girl on the ground is getting whooped on. Here comes Jonathan Majors coming to say today. You know, the Shade Room showed this, but the Shade Room didn't show the video that I just pulled. They didn't show that. Hi, former employee of Jonathan Majors' PR team here. I guess they decided to cut the speech I wrote for him. They think this is a joke. This is what they do. You can't do anything, you quote unquote fight. The girl was over there getting whooped on, but everything is a joke. Now, you know how stupid people are? Remember his PR team dropped him. Why do we got to be at odds with each other when we can see what the fuck is going on? But no, everything is a joke. Everything is funny. Ha ha he. Miss me with that, man. We're under attack up here. There's warfare up here within my people. Yeah, I talk about comic book movies and all of that stuff, but I'm not going to stop the struggle with my people no matter where I'm at. I don't care. We got to get it better up here. It's a damn shame that a black man who's the district attorney of Manhattan is doing his damnness to put another black man who is clearly innocent in a fucking jail cell, right? And then the same person that is getting processed, just trying to get Barry, who has more evidence that he's innocent than guilty, stops a fight. Y'all think it's a PR stunt?
So he was at an In-N-Out burger.
Nah, he came through one of them portals from Doctor Strange.
He was at an In-N-Out burger.
Where's the In-N-Out
burger? Oh, got her again.
Oh, I didn't see all this. This ain't funny. Stop laughing.
So the speculation was that it was fake. Duh. You think it's fake?
You don't? He was directly in the sight of the camera. Like he was aware of where the camera was every time they moved.
I think it was
No,
real.
they were aware of them.
I think it was real, y'all.
Where did he come from?
In-N-Out burger.
He was eating a burger by himself and ran across the street to break up a fight.
It was across the street.
Ain't no way I believe this shit. I'm sorry.
Across the
It seemed like
street.
he came from the side.
This is a character witness. This is exhibit C in the courthouse. That's what this is.
Look, why would he?
So instead of having somebody write a letter,
he filmed it.
Exactly.
I don't know, y'all. So the second video, which I wanted to show, is somebody that said, "Yo, the fight was real. It's not a PR stunt."
Yeah, he paid him.
Oh,
Major still got some money. He still got some money. He still got some of that Kang money.
You think this? You really think this?
It doesn't look real, but I don't see why. I don't see why it would be fake.
Because he's on trial. And he needs to show him that he's not a violent person.
Exactly. That's what this looks like. Random.
He's an actor.
So you've got In-N-Out Hamburger right here on Sunset, next to Orange, and then right here is a Hollywood high school. So let's go to the side of the high school because it's got to be over here.
Google. This is very helpful.
This is how we do it.
It looks like right about here.
There we go. That's it right there.
Right
there. So, and then from the other shot, you can see that they were pointing out towards these buildings right here. So In-N-Out is like right there. So like if he's leaving, he would have been coming this way, would have seen it, and then pulled over and run out and tried getting involved.
School fight outside. Oh, a school fight at the Hollywood High School. And you just wanted to stop and make sure that nobody got hurt? Of course. Thanks, Sean. Were they okay? Were they okay?
I'm hoping so.
Yeah? What can I ask what happened? They were just fighting and you just pulled them apart?
It's just going to fight.
Yeah. They're all good though. What's your message to the girls? Stay cool? Thank you.
I mean, like he's got like it. That's what do you guys think? You think it's just a PR stunt?
I think it's very clear at this point that me and RJ think that that's the case.
I think it's a PR stunt, yeah.
I think you're the only one who's not 100%.
I don't...
Behind the Kate. So the first thing I think we have to start off with is the whole Jonathan Majors situation because he's out here stopping 2 kids from fights.
Oh, I don't care about that shit.
Come on.
Listen, no, fuck that shit. I don't care.
With his newspaper hat?
No, it's immaterial. If he did it for real, then he's a good guy and whatever. He's a decent human being. The fact that the New York District Attorney knew full on well in that 2 terabytes worth of evidence that they tried to drop 24 hours before they were due in trial in what, June was that? Right?
Around there.
Within that conglomerate of information was a text message from Stephanie McMahon to her friend in England. That's her name. That's what we're going to call her. That's who she is. Stephanie McMahon to her friend in England. Would you like me to transcribe?
In your British voice? Absolutely.
Oi! Oi! I had to get scrappy with young Jonathan earlier.
Oh, no.
He really piffed me off.
Oh, no.
Really burned my crumpets.
Crumpets is crazy.
Burned my crumpets. Had me all in a tizzy.
He was right pissed, innit?
Oi! Had my blood boiling over.
This is crazy.
Tells the woman that she had to get scrappy with Jonathan. Oh, and by the way, see this shit on my hand? Have no fucking clue how I got here. Know when she got that? Know when she sent that information? 8 a.m. the morning after this altercation happened. Why is that key, Marcus? What sense? Why is that such a big thing? Because we can see from the what we will eventually see from the cab footage, what we will see from what we have seen from the club footage, what we've seen from another video that the prosecution had of her immediately after walking away from the vehicle they just got kicked out of because of the altercation, right? Meeting up with the fans that saw them as they were fleeing the scene, right? And it's a video of her fucking with her hair, talking to people, not showing, oh my God, you see the strangulation mix? Do you see my finger? You see my broken finger? Can you see my lacerated ear bleeding everywhere? They had it all. They had all of that. So we know she's not injured. We saw her at the club. We saw her on the street. We saw her going into the apartment, not injured. Comes out of the apartment on the body cam footage with the cops. I still didn't really see any injuries, but obviously maybe there was something in plain sight that you could see. Cool. But what we know is the first time that those injuries are visible to any camera anywhere is at 8 a.m. when she's talking to her friend about not knowing where the fuck it came from. Oh, you know what else they had? You know what else they had? Because I'm sure they had to take Jonathan Major's phone, right? Oh. So they had a picture the next morning when he woke up of a blood spot on his pillow that he slept in that night. Oh, you mean he had the laceration? And he has the physical evidence to prove it? No, it's ketchup, bro. It's fucking ketchup. This dude cost TMZ to show him breaking up fights. It's obviously ketchup that he put on the pillow. Because the metadata on the photo won't show exactly when he took it and where.
It's prop blood.
And I'm sure, after he put the ketchup on the pillowcase, he just threw that shit away and not kept the physical evidence, right? I'm sure that's what happened. Man, let's go to trial. At this point, I'm inviting it. We've waited all this time. I've waited on my due process. I have the right to a speedy trial. We are dangerously approaching that 90-day mark. Let's go to trial, fam. Come on. Let's go to trial. Let's do it. Not only are you overcharging, I feel like you're walking yourself into a media nightmare. Because unless, once again, what certain people are waiting on, there's some smoking gun. Which at this point would have to be, this is an unprecedented thing in American law. But what we have here is a case of a man sleeping with a clone. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the woman that you see on this video is not Grace Jabari. It is Grace Jabari's clone. Take that out. Fuck it. Wait. The woman that you see in this video is not Stephanie McMahon, but it is Stephanie McMahon's clone. Jonathan Majors engaged in a sexual relationship with said clone, to which Miss McMahon found out and was outraged. When Jonathan Majors saw that she was upset at his infidelity, he brutally beat her in the back of that New York City cab, paid off the driver to give a false testimony. And then, as he is fleeing the cab, he encounters the clone, who suspiciously is dressed exactly like Miss McMahon that night and is on the street at the very moment Jonathan Majors, confused by what he is seeing, doesn't encounter Miss Jabari, seeming like he's trying to flee her for his own safety. But aha! With the added context of the clone, we have now put together the case of Jonathan Majors not just being unfaithful to his girlfriend, but being guilty of assault. I rest my case.
They're getting laughed out of that courtroom.
I mean, give me the rationale. Give me the what was the reason?
What was the reason?
Okay, Cardi.
For real, what are we waiting on? What are we hanging on? Is there a video that completely refutes everything that we've seen here in regards to like what our eyeballs can see? If you are cut down to the bleeding flesh, that's what a laceration is. It's not a paper cut. It's an open wound. There should be some blood. And even if you are deranged enough to go kick it after that, wouldn't you bandage it? Like, wouldn't you cover it up? Wouldn't you at least try to clean it? Wipe it with something? Wouldn't you be seen, like, messing with it? Or like, man. Like, man, my hand really hurts.
Something.
At any point. You know the only time she does that is probably on that body cam footage that is yet to be released. Man, we got all of this footage. And the one thing that ain't found its way onto the interwaves is the conversation between the arresting officers and the alleged victim. I wonder why that is, because you know they have it. Just like they had this video of her walking down the street. Just like they had the text messages to her old body pal in England.
Yikes.
That one was a little thick.
I mean,
that one was a little thick.
I mean,
I could have dialed it back a bit.
A little bit.
Oi. They had all of that from jump. They had to investigate this crime just as much as the defense did. They were privy to some of the same avenues and the same information that was available, and here we are. Now we're just preparing for the lawsuit. Has to sue them. Has to sue the DA's office. Has to.
So he's walking by. Yo. She's holding hands with this woman. You hear the guy say, yo. He's looking at her like, you piece of shit. And then she walks over to him. And he moves his hand in a way to say that he is scared about her being violent on him. Now, obviously, this newly surfaced footage is key evidence to get the case completely thrown out. And what's even more crazy is that it's being alleged that the prosecution left this evidence out, which would have exonerated Jonathan Majors. According to Insider, rather than flagging the video as state law evidence requires, prosecutors sat on this video for almost 4 months and then buried it in over 2 terabytes of discovery, turned over only last month. Defense lawyer Priya Chaudhry said in a request that the case to be thrown out. And there's another video that was taken 2 hours later where she seems to be dancing and using her hand effectively. Let's watch. Pay attention to the bottom right side of the screen. She's coming in the focus right here. Here's a zoom in. Now watch. She gets twirled around using that right hand. You can see it right there in plain view. Wow, she looks fine, huh? Now, throughout all of this, Jonathan Majors is actually saying that Grace was the aggressor. And there's pictured evidence of what those injuries are. This should be an open and shut case. I don't even understand at this point why this is even going to trial. You have witness testimony from the Uber driver that drove both of them, that saw her being violent and saw him not being violent. And you have a litany of video camera evidence, career-threatening allegations from a liar. But just imagine for a quick second, if these allegations are made and all of this evidence is not in your favor, what do you do? How would you exonerate yourself? Which is why exposing these liars for the liars that they are is completely necessary. Because if not, or if they're not held accountable for their actions, then it's just gonna keep on happening. Men and women alike should want liars exposed, because continuing to have them lie does no value to actual victims of assault and should never be used as a tool to destroy a man's career. Grace, you should be utterly ashamed of yourself.
Grace?
Hi, Grace.
Grace? Do you have a comment, Grace?
How do you feel about being charged with a crime?
What is this right here? So you mean to tell me after all the evidence, they still... Come on, bruh. They said judge rejects motion to dismiss Jonathan Majors' case. The trial has an official start date of November 29th. A little bit over a month. We're going to see it go down to see if Jonathan Majors go down for this. Now, I'm pretty sure you've seen the pictures. I got the pictures coming up. I'm pretty sure you've seen the footage. We got the footage coming up. This man, the chick is not hurt. I'm going to tell you what really went down FatalJay way, allegedly. He was in the new Creed movie. He and the Ant-Man Quantumania had a great year. So he got some chicks hitting up his phone. He don't want to just be with old girl. He don't want to be with her no more. Chicks hitting him on the phone. She going crazy. She started throwing them blows at him, but he didn't throw blows back. Then, he tried to escape her. She came up with a plan, an evil, devious plan. This is the real Kang. She's the real Thanos. I'm going to say that he abused me. I'm going to ruin his life. If I can't have him, nobody can have him. That's the type of stuff people do.
It is so systematically ingrained in American culture to protect white women that it's always going to be an uphill battle. For example, let's look at Emmett Till. They claimed he whistled at somebody. We know what the outcome was. Those men felt like they had to protect that woman from whatever that boy was going to attempt to do to her. Look at this case. Look at this woman. Burst into tears when she meets these strangers on the side of the road. She never even said he hit her or he assaulted her. All she said was she caught him cheating. And this man right here felt the need to immediately protect her. He chose to try and attack Jonathan Majors for another woman, even though his woman was standing right there trying to stop him. So yes, she probably jumped on you. She attacked you. She scratched you. But as you can see, with evidence and proof of your injuries, her tears are more valuable than your injuries. They don't mean nothing. They're not valid. They don't care that she scratched you up. So it was a misstep to try and press charges against her 6 months later. Should have happened day 2. His lawyer claimed that the prosecution was hiding all of this evidence that could prove that Jonathan Majors was innocent. And all of this should fall under the Brady violation and the case should be dismissed. So a part of this was the sidewalk video that a lot of us have seen, a statement from the doctor who agreed her finger was broke. And she's claiming that the prosecution spoke to the driver and the driver gave statements saying that the accuser was the aggressor, but the prosecution hid his statement. And they also felt that his right to a speedy trial had been violated. The judge reviewed all this information and said, no, ma'am, there's no Brady violation here. The judge also said his right to a speedy trial has not been violated. It's only been 70 chargeable court days. What type of lawyer doesn't know how many court days have passed? Like, ma'am, you knew y'all hadn't reached the 90-day mark, so why would you even try to get this case dismissed off of failure of a speedy trial when you know the mark hasn't been passed? And look, let's talk about another thing that came out today. You asked the judge that when this goes to trial, you want certain things sealed to the public. Now, that's not really a misstep. That's a good idea. Problem is, what are y'all trying to seal? Why now do you want to start hiding things from the public when for the past 6 or 7 months, you've been so freely giving everything to the public? What does the prosecution have that you don't want us to see? It sounds like you're moonwalking, and now you're getting a little scared of what can come out. The brightest spot in this case is prosecution is making an accusation that he broke her finger during the initial altercation. The video evidence that we have on that sidewalk really does help Jonathan Majors because you're not doing all that with a broken finger. You're not going to the club with a broken finger and dancing and holding bottles and acting as normal with a broken. It's not happening. You're not doing that with a jam finger. Another bright spot is the driver. If we can figure out what side the driver is on, he can really be helpful for Jonathan Majors. Problem is, we don't really know where the driver stands. He's really a neutral party. He doesn't have a dog in the fight. We just don't know what he's going to say when he gets on the stand. But you know what's scary? The accuser's testimony. If she gets on that stand and starts pointing and crying and saying that he assaulted her, it's not going to look good. It's the reason why we say no face, no case. Because it's very tough to put someone on the stand in a criminal trial and for the jury not to believe them. It's very tough. The good thing is Jonathan Majors' lawyer can cross-examine her. And baby, she got a lot of stuff to pick her apart on. I think Jonathan Majors should take the stand. Your life is on the line, brother. And if you are 100% innocent, you need to get on that stand and you need to tell people what happened that night. You do not leave your future in someone else's hands to tell your story. How does Marvel handle this? He has 3 charges. What if he's innocent on 2, but he's guilty on 1? Do you keep him?
How's your poetry going?
Mr. Majors, is this a test of faith? Is this a test of your faith? Do you feel like Job right now?
entertainment kind of guy.
How do you feel about today?
Hey, so who was Cleopatra?
What's your favorite D'Angelo song? Megan, what do you think about the texts? Why didn't you take the stand? Were you worried how jurors would react?
I'm Danielle Atherton Bonner. In my prior life, I was a litigation paralegal. I got my education from the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Because I love law so much and I am a Jonathan Majors fan, I decided to sit in on the trial. She says she grabbed the phone with two hands, turned her back to him facing her door, and was basically strong-arming the phone, Kung Fu grip style. And he was trying to pry it from her hands. Those were her words. He was trying to pry the phone from my hands. He was not successful. So then she goes into trying to claim that he bent her arm back, da-da-da-da-da-da. She says she hit him.
She hit him?
Yes, she did. You know, when you snatch something, that can border on assault if you hurt somebody's hand in the process.
I'm pretty sure he was hurt. I mean, I saw some damning evidence that shows that he didn't make it out of that.
He had a scratch on his arm right above his hand.
Oh, I know.
Right. So that's probably when she snatched his phone.
Well, clearly, yeah. He's the one who didn't come out of this unscathed.
She denied scratching him, but admitted to hitting his arm. Then he ordered the car to stop. He ordered the driver to stop the car. So at that point,
He ordered the. She didn't say, "Stop the car! I'm under duress extremely. Jonathan is overbearing."
And they kept asking. They said, "Well, what did the driver say? What did the driver do?" She kept saying she didn't remember the driver. Wasn't paying attention to the driver. So I think she's setting the stage to not even be able to ID the driver. And I'm like, are you on her side or Jonathan's side? Because the prosecutor was asking her. She kept asking her, well, what about the driver? What did the driver do? What did the driver say? I don't remember the driver. I don't remember if he said anything. I wasn't paying attention to the driver. I'm paraphrasing, but those were at least 3 different answers that she gave about the driver. As soon as he opened that car door, you see her in the doorway of the car. Her exact words, he was trying to get me off of him, trying to get me not to follow him. But in the same breath, tries to say that he was pushing her. She didn't say that. That's what the prosecution is trying to say. That he was pushing her in the car, threw her like a football. She never once said that. I don't know if she was there for the opening statements because they weren't on the same page with that. He was trying to get me off of him, trying to get me not to follow him. So he kind of took her shoulders with his 2 hands and sat her back down in the seat. That was the first time he tried to get her to stay in the car. Then she jumped back up again.
Okay.
Then you see him kind of trying to push her back down into the seat, not shoving her, not pushing her head down. He's kind of like back off, like that kind of thing. She pops back up again. He does it again. She pops back up again, and then he just hauls ass. Then the next frame, you see them running through a parking lot. The next frame, you see them running. It's like different scenes of where they ran. By the time she got tired and stopped, was right before she got to the building on Lafayette Street where she ran into those 3 people and started with do you know Jonathan Majors and da-da-da-da-da, and he has my purse, and he texted another woman, and then you hear the girl say, "Oh, it's fair game, girly." She testifies that she was scared of him. At that point where she's talking to these people, she testified that she was afraid of him. But then he walks past and you approach him and then continue chasing him.
That's the thing, right?
But she's afraid of him at this point. Not only does she continue following him, but guess what? They end up back in the Escalade. And they ask, well, why didn't you just go home? Why would you get back in the car? Did you not feel any of the injuries that you sustained? She kept saying, all I was focused on was finding out who he was texting. And then she toggled in between that and her adrenaline and being in shock. That's how she kept explaining away why it took her until 11 o'clock the next morning to realize she got her ass beat. She's like, I'm signing the check for the drinks. And she was like, but that's the hand injured.
Ooh.
She was like, yeah, but I could still do things. That was Grace's exact words. She's worked through broken ribs, so she can work through a broken finger. And she admitted to drinking a lot of champagne and tequila shots. You know, yesterday, even the defense said that video that was presented today was truncated. They did not show her dancing. They did not show her in the DJ booth. They did not show how much she was drinking. They just showed her right in the chest.
Look, I was trying not to stare them down. But as they were walking in, I got a better look at one of the other jurors that I thought was Caucasian. She is a female. She is probably Hispanic-ish or somewhere ethnic. Let's just put it that way. So that takes us down to just one white female, one Hispanic appearing male, 2 Asian men, 1 black woman. Just so that when we get to jury deliberation time, you have more, perspective of who's deliberating. I appreciated Priya's strategy because she was rapid fire throwing things at her, and 90% of it got objected and sustained. And one of the things that she put out there that we heard was that the DA decided not to prosecute Grace because she agreed to participate as a witness. And that's something that's done all the time. Okay, you won't be prosecuted, you won't be charged if you cooperate. And that's highly likely because at the end of the day, assault is assault. So why is he getting prosecuted and she's not?
I'll take black for 500, Alex.
Well, we already know the real why. I think that when she got that breakup text on her way home from the club, she knew it was a wrap. And so now you're going to spend from 2 a.m. until 11:07 when you sent that last text to Holly, figuring out how to destroy this man. But Holly, the same thing. The majority of her testimony had to be objected to because she kept elaborating on things instead of just answering yes or no. So
my theory is that since they knew that the driver, they knew they were going to do this tactic where they say, hey, listen, we need an Urdu translator to help with this. And it just happens to be Friday. We're not going to have enough time to get another translator. So let's just sit on the whole weekend without that driver's testimony. Let's have 2 days, 48 hours of you not listening to the actual chauffeur driver who was the only witness there when this alleged assault took place. When this happened, that guy who's about to say Jonathan did nothing, he didn't even raise his finger, he calls her a psycho girl. That guy needs to not be in your memory banks for as long as possible. So that's why both Haley and Steph were giving their long answers because they knew that was the game plan always.
Oh, definitely. Because the thing is, you've known about this guy since at least March. So you didn't know he needed an Urdu translator.
He didn't need an Urdu translator. He could communicate perfectly fine. If you know the word for punch, if you know the word for left turn, if you you're good. He called her psycho girl. You got a grasp of the English language.
He knows English, right, to use that kind of slang. They brought him in right after recess before they brought the jury back in. And they were like, well, let's just put him on a stand just to let him know that we're going to have to get him a translator. But what I found weird, and this is why what you're saying seems to be ringing true, is because they already knew they weren't going to let him testify, because every witness that came up on that stand, Judge Gaffey said, when I say object, I'm paraphrasing, when I say object, stop talking. When I say overruled, you keep talking. When I say sustained, you stop talking. I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much.
That's how Judge Gaffey treated everyone. That's how he treated the cop.
That's how he treated everyone that came on the stand. This guy, do you know what objection means? Do you know what it means when I say sustained? It was literally a vocabulary quiz, like as if you're in, ELA class and they're quizzing you on vocabulary.
If you're talking and then ADA Kelly Galloway over there says objection, you're going to stop because she said objection. That's not that difficult to understand.
Right, and he could have literally done the same thing with this guy.
Also having the translator, doesn't that mean that they'll ask questions to the translator, he'll answer in Urdu, and then they'll translate it back? It's not going to hit hard. Sure. It's really important to me that he says she took his phone. He did not hurt her, and I want that in English. And then they can do both, but just definitely give it to me in English for the jury to understand. And then that should be the case.
When he would not answer her text messages, she said, goodbye, Jonathan. He responded back, did you leave the keys? Goodbye, Grace. That was the finality of their relationship. That's when she knew it was officially done. When she was rapid fire questioning her, she asked her about those texts. A lot of it was objected to, of course. But again, we heard it. She was asking her about the timeline because she kept pressing on, okay, You got home at this time. You were found at this time. But then all these WhatsApp messages are showing all these phone calls that were taking place all the way up until 13 minutes before Jonathan came home. She kept driving at her about, so you did not hear Jonathan come in the house. You did not hear Jonathan knocking on the bathroom door. You did not notice that Jonathan checked your pulse, touched you, tried to wake you up. She says she didn't notice any of that. But you were on the phone 13 minutes ago.
Yeah. Did they ask Hallie about the text? I'm feeling I had to get scrappy. Did they ask her what that meant?
No. That and they had, and the thing is, I think Holly was a perfect witness because she clearly did not want to be there. She made it clear that she ignored most of the phone calls. So she said the first call happened at midday London time. She said I'm quoting, on and off the phone to Gracie for hours and hours and hours, multiple hours. When asked, she said she never observed Gracie like that before, crying, upset. If this is your first time hearing her act like that, then that would say that she never had any issues with Jonathan that required her to act like she was acting, right?
True.
She said there never came a time when Grace stopped responding to her texts and calls. So, weren't you unconscious?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what was she doing? I think he's knocking on the door. The defense objection was sustained, but we heard Holly say, it took me a very long time to persuade her, and then they objected. But it was to persuade her to leave because she had said it earlier.
Okay.
So that plays into the fact that you're scared, you're locking doors, hiding in the closet. Your sister lives in New York City. You said that several times. Why was there no urgency to leave? On June 16, 2023, she confirmed that when she spoke to the DA, that she said that Grace was not making much sense when she was communicating with her over that 4 or 5 hours, that she was half asleep at times because she did take the sleeping tablets, that she was hysterical, that she didn't know exactly how it happened. These are direct quotes. And that Jabari said that she was really scrappy with Jonathan. The defense passed her back to the people after she said she was really scrappy, went to lunch, recess. Like I said, came back with the driver that would not be testifying that on Friday. And then they called Officer Brendan Swain. They bring out Exhibit 19, which is the body cam footage. They don't have any sound on it. Remember where it was published way before now, where they were questioning whether it was his apartment and the officer said, yeah. In their mind, he could have been living with Grace and not the other way around, you know? So
to protect the cops themselves and their questioning and they removed the audio.
Yeah,
is that fair? That should not be allowed. That's not even right.
Right, because he also said in the video, and again, it was objected and sustained, but he said that if I punch you or hit you, I'm not going to break my finger. That's probably what they were trying to keep from being heard, in addition to other things that the other officer that tried to tell her to putting his hand by his neck, that officer. I think a lot of that was probably being heard in the background, and they didn't want the jury to hear that. But then he eventually says that Jabari whispered to him, saying that she didn't want him, meaning Jonathan, in the room. He said at this point, Swain, wanted to make sure he was in a different room. Jonathan was in a different room. So
Which
this is where
he could be lying to us because we don't even have the audio.
Exactly.
That's so fishy. I'm still on that. Yeah, the audio was pulled, so she whispered to him that I need Jonathan in the room. Okay.
But there's no way for us to know that because we can't.
And did she ever say in her testimony that's what happened?
No, in her testimony, she said that's why I said weaponizing the police, because she said that she just wanted to tell them, help me.
Yeah, I remember that. She wanted to tell them, help me. She never said she did say it.
Right. When he was asked what Sergeant Hansen was doing in the video with Jabari, he states that Sergeant Hansen, he's touching his neck. So he also confirmed that his boss is gesturing to the neck to try to get Jabari to say that she got strangled. The judge kind of interrupts and states that the viewing of the body cam video was solely for the jury's viewing the actions of the police officers. This is why, another reason why I think they took the sound out. The demeanor of Grace and the injuries. That's it. That's all they wanted. That the judge wanted them to worry about and seeing that video.
And as a person who was introduced to this entire ordeal in March and hearing the headlines of being strangled, it was really important to me. And knowing the cops were the ones who arrested, it was really important to see how this arrest was manufactured. But it feels like this case has been evolved because on May 9th, they made new charges. And they were like, it had nothing to do with the cops. And that's why I guess they get to minimize the effect and the role of what the police did in this whole entire assault case.
He's going to have to put a special budget aside to sue civilly, sue Grace civilly. Well, first of all, he's going to have to because she admitted to, and I don't know if I said that before, but she did admit it to still having the iPhone that he gave her, even though he asked her to return it. So that's grand larceny in the United States because anything over $300 is grand larceny. That's $1,000 plus phone. And she still has it to this day. She might not. They may have made her give it back, but she had it as of Monday. I mean, Tuesday. She still had his phone. Yeah. And he specifically asked her to give it back. So now that's that. Swain testified that Sergeant Hansen, the neck guy, is the one who would approve an arrest. Swain confirmed that Jabari never used the word strangulation. And that speaks to the fact that she told the DA, and she said in her own words on the stand that she told them to take that out.
All of you sleuths who said, she's apologizing for that. She said it wasn't strangulation. That's because she's an abuse victim. Well, coming out of her mouth in court where she's not disoriented over drugs or nothing, she says, I was not strangled. So you're welcome, everybody.
The doctor, Chang, that's going to testify that the break, there's the type of break that happens when you hit your hand on something or fall. He's a prosecution witness. And I know Priya asked on Monday or Tuesday in front of the judge, could you get the prosecution to get him to call me? She said it again yesterday at adjournment that can you please try to get him in here earlier in the week? Because if he testifies first, then I won't need any of my other witnesses.
And the jury heard her say that.
No, they were gone.
Oh, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, they were gone. When asked if he recalled asking Jabari, did he hurt your finger? Swain answered, I might have said that. So at this point, the defense, there's a tech guy that they use. That guy brought him a little laptop with some earphones. They played a video queued up to the part of the video where he says that.
So he confirmed it after he heard it. He goes, well, I did ask her, did you hurt your finger?
Because at first he said, I might have said that. And then when he watched the video, he looked like he saw a ghost. He was like, oh, shit.
You guys, I can be accountable for my words?
He was like, oh, shit. Grace's answer to that question was, I guess so. So it's revealed that Swain wrote in the police report that Jabari suffered a small laceration behind the eye. I think he meant ear. It was probably a typo, but it worked in our favor. Behind the eye. to which he says, I did write that. And then he said, not true. When asked, it was not true. He signed a criminal court complaint saying the same thing. And the point of that questioning was you could have went back and corrected it. But you didn't. Saying the same thing. And he also confirmed that it was under penalties of perjury. He wrote that the incident occurred in the apartment when it was actually an Escalade. And then on redirect, Swain said that he spent 15 to 20 minutes with Grace. He says he did not notice any injuries on Jonathan and that Jonathan never showed him anything. But then the body cam footage is replayed showing Jonathan pointing to his jacket. And then it looked like he was pointing somewhere else, but then they paused it. So I couldn't get, the full, none of us could get what else he was pointing to after that point. Monday, we spoke to our friend, the driver, right?
Naveed Sarwar.
ChillMonger and I were hoping that the Urdu interpreter would just ask him the questions in Urdu and he would answer in English. But I came to find out before the jury was even let in on Monday morning, they were discussing between the defense and the prosecution. It was an issue that there was a Brady disclosure that they only got that morning at 9:07, saying that they met with the Urdu translator on Sunday with the driver. So that, came up as an issue. It also came up that the driver was deeply offended that they thought he needed a translator. I was taking them to their house. When we reached Canal and Barry Street, the girl said, "I want to see something on your phone."
Mm-hmm.
He also states he was looking straight, but see, he could have been looking straight and peeking up at the rearview mirror, and nobody asked that. But, I mean, it really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, he was there, we were not, and you can't say that he did not see or hear what he saw or heard.
Oh yeah, from the sounds produced.
Right, from the sounds produced, and there was there was a camera in the car, but it was not working.
I don't believe that for a second. I think Black Lane has high-profile clientele that need to know that when they ride in that service, they will not have their ongoings appear in court.
Exactly, because Sarah says I was looking straight. The boy said there was nothing, but the girl was insisting. When asked if he saw what happened next, he says, "I was feeling that something was going on in the back seat. The boy wanted to get rid of the girl, so he opened the door. The boy came out of the car. He saw that they were fighting among themselves. He was trying to get rid of her. He was saying, 'Leave me alone. I want to go.' He was not doing anything. She was doing everything. I do remember the boy pushing her back into the car to get rid of her." And Grace testified to that. She said he was trying to keep me from following him. He was trying to get me away from him. She said that. So this is just the driver's version of that. RR testified, "I had a feeling the girl had hit the boy earlier because of the way she was fighting and the sounds produced." Of course, the prosecution and the judge kind of warned him that he shouldn't offer his personal opinion, but no moves to strike were made. Nobody said, "Okay, strike that from the record," or you know what I mean? So what is he supposed to offer? They did not strike any of his testimony. So, there was no point in telling him.
Well, they tried when they said he was trying to get rid of her. Over there, we see Perez saying, no, don't give your opinion, objection. And then he repeated, he was trying to get rid of her.
Right, and they would not, and they didn't strike it from the record. So the jury was allowed to keep that into consideration. The next witness was Chloe Zoller. That's the girl that is
fair game girly.
Yeah, fair game girly. And I wish they would have asked her what she meant by that, because I'm like, I tell you my boyfriend cheated on me and you say fair game? Like, what? They were drinking. She said that she was intoxicated. She testified, as we know, that the driver met them because he finally caught up to them, met them outside, and she thought they were going to send them both in that Escalade back home. She says she then heard them running out of the car and they were both very upset, because that's at the point where Grace testified that they got back in the car. She convinced them to get back in the car. They were only in the car 5 seconds, but she testified it was like 2 minutes. So during closing summations, Priya played the video again, showing them, where they got in the car and jumped right back out. And it was 5 seconds. He came in on one side, came out on another side. And it was literally only 5 seconds of time before he ran back out the car again. They were trying to figure out where to send Grace, where to send Jonathan, because they realized that they could not, be together.
There was someone they saw in need, and they said, after this birthday party, let's figure things out, because they don't know anything.
And I mean, the bonus was that they all knew, except for Shem, they all knew who Jonathan was. So, I'm sure any of us would want to stick around and be nosy to see a celebrity and his crazy girlfriend argument, right? I mean, who wouldn't? I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. That's like a tourist experience as far as I'm concerned. She testified that she entered the car, the Escalade with Grace, and tried to get her to go home in the Escalade. But then, ended up I guess in the course of the communication with her, well, do you want to come with us to the party then? And then Grace was like, well, just order some champagne and some tequila shots. She said that Grace told her that it was Jonathan's card. I don't know why she told her that. So I don't know if it was kind of like, girl, order some drinks because this is on Jonathan. She said she had a lighter and happier demeanor. She said she didn't notice any injuries on Grace, but that Lucy's is dark inside. She also said that she noticed no injuries on Grace when they first met earlier that night. And we see that. And Chloe standing right there at her ear, staring into her ear hole. Oh, and that when she hugged Grace, she did not complain of any pain or transfer any blood onto her. Zola testified that she observed tears on Jonathan's face when she first saw him. Objection sustained. But she said it. She testifies that she did not see everything that Grace did that night and that she did not recall if Grace indicated any pain while she was holding Chloe's hand. Her hand wasn't injured. There's a picture that clearly shows that her hand was not injured at Lucy's.
It was not purple like this?
No, all the fingers look the same. I didn't even realize the finger wasn't hurt until the expert witness testified and pointed out, yeah, that finger's not the same finger that was in this picture. Right. So the video is playing of Zola didn't remember Grace stumbling into the wall, so they played a video, show her stumbling.
Oh, Chloe Zoller was in the video, observed it in the video, but because she was so intoxicated, she couldn't recall it.
Right. And she's in that surveillance with her because she's walking her out the door.
Great witness, everybody.
Right. And then we have Brian Hansen, who's a sergeant. I call him the choker. Jabari told him she was struck. This is quoted, direct quote. She was struck in the head several times and that the defendant grabbed her throat.
Okay, well, there's audio on these body camera footage, so we heard that, right?
No, they didn't play the sound for us. We couldn't hear it
How
because
about
the
that?
judge kept saying that those videos were only so we can see her injuries, that we can see I got to find the exact wording, but he didn't want us hearing anything. The only other remarkable thing that Sergeant Hansen said is that he admitted that he indicated to Officer Swain and grabbed his own neck to get him to ask Jabari more questions.
Oh, that's what that means. That wasn't a strangulation. No way.
But I'm like, why would you do that? Is there no other code that you have for like ask more questions? Like,
Don't even give that any of its. No, get out of here. He was charged with strangulation by the police. That's what that meant. Okay, don't try to hit me with. Oh, this is the standard. This is the whole.
Yeah, that's code for ask more questions. Is it? Oh, okay, I'm confused. All right, so then we talked to Ronnie Mejia. This is the detective that took Jonathan's complaint in June. Next witness is the expert witness. That's witness number 2 for the defense. Her entire testimony in a nutshell, Jabari's finger was not hurt in any of the Lucy's group photos, and that the injury could not possibly occur from twisting or squeezing of the hand. Same thing with the ear injury. She said if it happened the way Grace said it did, the whole ear area, head, and everything would be bruised and damaged, not just that little crease behind the ear that the picture shows. So
the whole biology angle, huh?
The next witness was Jonathan Major's agent, and he put the timeline together. Jonathan called him frantic because he couldn't get in his bedroom door. He was in a panic. He sounded concerned, distraught, and worried. He testified and demonstrated. They allowed him to demonstrate how Jonathan was banging. So it was a really loud, aggressive bang. He said he did it at least 70 to 80 times before Jonathan called 911. So he called him at 10:45. We already have established that Grace was texting Holly up until 11:07. That was literally just setting up the fact that she was not unconscious when he got there. I'm hoping that he makes them stay past 4:30 and then we can just get a verdict. But if not, probably Monday.
Wait, in college, wasn't he a ruckus? Wasn't he just an absolute menace?
Allegedly. And what happened to all those ex-girlfriends that were supposed to testify?
No, there's more trial. They're coming. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. I just never feel confident with juries. There might be 2 that I have confidence in, and that's the guy that's holding us up today, because I see him doing this a lot. Especially when the defense is talking. And the black lady, because she clearly is completely disengaged when it comes to anything the prosecution does. Those are the only 2 out of the 6 main jurors that I have faith in. And so that scares me. And it scares me, too, that they couldn't remember what the charges meant and need that reread again. Because I'm like, why? Why do you need to understand that him trying to get her off of him is not harassment? Let's just give it up to God and just pray that these people use common sense. Please, you don't have to have advanced degrees. You don't have to. And even the prosecution said, use your own everyday life experience. Like a lot of this is not rocket science. You don't have to have a law degree. You don't have to have been domestically abused or lied on to see that as plain as day, this is not to be convicted. This is not a charge to be convicted.
That's that. Thanks for watching the video. Leave them. Oh, last question, Danielle. Who the hell is Grace Jabari?
Stephanie.
For all the reporting I've been doing on this, I can't believe it wasn't made immediately clear that they had this angle of the alleged event. That's Jonathan Majors and Grace Jabari. This was posted by the Daily Mail. The TMZ also posted this again. The judge has kept a tight lid on all the evidence being presented in court over the past couple of weeks, but on Wednesday, he popped the lid open and released it all to the media. You can see Majors and Grace Jabari standing outside of an SUV, which is stopped at a light. Majors appears to wrap her up in his arms. From there, you see what prosecutors describe as, quote, using physical force. Once again, Majors picked her up with both hands and shoved her repeatedly into the Escalade.
He's also a celebrity. So if he's putting her in the car, I think there could be a pretty strong argument that he was trying to mitigate the situation from getting more attention. Who's running after who?
Dropping surveillance tape where it appears Jabari is pursuing Majors after.
Okay, okay, hold on. Now I'm getting a little skeptical. He's running away. I thought he was running after her.
She chasing him. She said, "Give me that phone back. I thought I was supposed to be your Michelle Obama." She see oncoming traffic. She said, "I love you, nigga." She said the N-word. Is that in the audio? No, but I just want to believe she did.
Turning the corner.
Hey, there's some little rental bikes, you know what I'm saying?
Another block.
And so then you just see another CCTV angle and you see him running the other way. And this time it's scarier because this time she not running. This time she's stalking him like Jason. Just. And she a little drunk too, so she looked like she gonna fall. I'm like, he really didn't need to run anymore, but clearly he did. She still caught up to him. This man ran his knees off and she just over here.
Insane. How the hell does a video of a man who's supposed to be the aggressor in the story running down the street from his girlfriend down the streets of New York, how is that not relevant? Let me tell you, if it wasn't for TMZ and Inside Edition, I don't know that we would have known about the video. I mean, TMZ really ran it extensively. But the court, everybody else tried to pretend they didn't see it. You know, New York Times pretended they didn't see it. Rolling Stone, no big deal. I mean, can you imagine for 1 second if this was reversed? If Jonathan Majors was running down the street after Grace Jabari? I mean, come on. You know, it just, to me, this is like Alice in Wonderland. That this video was not a total showstopper of the case. I mean, this should have stopped the entire trial in its tracks. You know, it's like one of these things that everybody's trying to pretend they don't see. You know, and in every piece that you read about the Majors case, you know, nobody, oh, we're not going to bring that up. That, you know, yeah, that's right. She was chasing him down. He's trying to actively, physically get away from her.
Oh my God.
Oh gosh. So two not guilties, two guilties. So assault into third degree, guilty. Harassment, they're harassment in second degree, guilty. Highest charge,
Recklessly
no.
causing physical assault. This is insane.
This is a split verdict.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Great message
Yeah.
to send to the next generation. When I have children, if I adopt, whatever happens, I'm telling them, if someone go, if a woman, I'm gonna specify, but make sure the danger is known. If a woman goes for your phone, let her have it. Call the police right there and there. I have been robbed. This woman robbed my phone. I was sitting in my car. She took the phone out of my hand. I do not want to cause I don't want to bring any harassment charges to myself. So I'm calling you to report robbery. Please.
Okay. But let's look at the bright side of this verdict, right?
There is no right. This case does not happen for two instances. One, if he doesn't call the police, this case doesn't exist. Two, if she doesn't go for the phone, this case does not exist. Those are very dangerous precedents that has been set today for a misdemeanor. It is that small. The misdemeanor should be on him because no one deserves to have their phone taken from them. But you're telling him, because I'm not going to ignore the racial components. It is glaring at this point. I've tried to be fair in looking at both sides and be like, okay, there is also a gender bias component. Yes, but the racial component here is so aggravated because when they were selecting the jury, they were trying to get rid of the black jurors. That's insane. Even the educated ones, the ones that have got their MBAs, etc., they were trying to get them because they may not understand the jury instructions. That's insane. So you cannot tell me there isn't a racial component to this, because when that happens in the jury selection room, they're saying, no, black man, you can't even, you have to call the police if someone steals your phone. You can't decide to try and grab your phone back. You might hurt this sweet, innocent white woman.
I'm disappointed. They did what I called in a previous episode, they split the baby. They get a split verdict. I had concerns about the verdict when they came back with another question, being read the definition or being read the jury instruction of harassment again. They didn't come up with a verdict on Friday. I was very concerned that was an indication that they were going to find him guilty of something. And they did. This is something that prosecutors love to do. They love to stack these charges. So the jury has all these multiple options to find you guilty of something. And that's what they did. Like, hey, he must have did something. We got 5 charges and all that. And like I said, over the weekend concerned me. They read all that stuff on that bias media, all that kind of stuff, and bam. And now he's convicted. Priya had all the facts that she knew this case apparently forwards and backwards. I am convinced in my heart that there was a misstep by those text messages. Getting those text messages in, I think, was an error. Now, would it change the outcome of the case? I don't know, because they had the weekend to get on the internet and look things up and things like that. So, it may not ultimately change the outcome of the case. Who knows?
Based on the information I had when the prosecution rested, I thought this case really should end with an acquittal. The first charge was third-degree intentional assault. Here, the state needed to show that Majors physically injured Jabari and that he specifically intended to do so. The second charge was third-degree reckless assault. For this one, the state needed to show that Majors physically injured Jabari and that he maybe didn't intend to hurt her, but that he harmed her through his recklessness. Now, recklessness in this context means that he knew of a risk that he was creating by doing something or failing to do something, and that he consciously disregarded that strong likelihood that someone would get hurt. So it's not the same thing as negligence, where you simply weren't being careful and you should have known better. It requires really getting into the defendant's brain and figuring out what he knew, what he didn't know, and what decisions that he made based on what he did and didn't know. Anyway, the third charge was second-degree aggravated harassment. This is where the defendant intentionally harasses a person. They do something to annoy that person, and they intend to annoy that person. And where the defendant also ends up intentionally harming that person through that harassment. So again, there's intent on both of those pieces. And finally, there's second-degree harassment. This is where the defendant annoyed the victim and did so intentionally. But unlike aggravated harassment, there's no element of any kind of a physical injury. Now, importantly, the first 3 charges are misdemeanors, so they're punishable by up to a year in prison. The fourth one, however, while a violation under the New York Penal Code, is not a crime. It's essentially the same thing as getting a speeding ticket. In the end, he's been convicted of 1 misdemeanor and the 1 non-criminal violation. A lot of people are scratching their heads about how they could come down to this split. And what it tells me is that they decided that Majors did not intend to cause harm to Jabari. However, they did find that he was reckless in causing harm to Jabari. They basically said that he knew that there was some risk of harm that he was creating at some point, and that he proceeded to act without justification, consciously disregarding that risk. Personally, based on the evidence that I have seen that has come out at this trial, I don't think there's enough evidence to show that all of that entered his brain on that night. Now, I could see a jury looking at everything that was presented and find, say, negligence. They could say he should have known that what he did would cause her harm. But that's not the same thing as knowing that what you're doing is likely to cause someone harm and consciously saying, you know what? Screw it. Let's go for it. But I think that it was up to the defense attorney to hit that point in closing arguments to make sure of 3 things. First, that the jury understood what recklessness actually is. Second, that there is a big hole where the state should have presented evidence as to his mental state and how that means that there's all kinds of reasonable doubt on that point. And third, whatever evidence there is showing that Majors maybe couldn't have had that mental state. They could have, for example, pointed to the fact that he knew that she was a dancer, he knew that she was incredibly fit, and that he knew that, she was using a certain amount of force on him, and so he needed to use a certain amount in order to restrain her from attacking him, for example. From what it looks like, the defense did not do any of that. The defense attorney here was a little too focused, I think, on the argument that Jabari was a liar and that there was racial bias. And I think that this was an unforced error on the part of the defense team. Like I said, to me, this was a gray case through and through. Do I think that Majors assaulted Jabari? Honestly, I don't know. It's possible. It definitely is possible. But there are too many unknowns, in my opinion, to convict on that question. And maybe part of it is because of the uncertainty of getting information from this trial secondhand. But based on what I do know to have been presented in this case, I can't say that I would be ready to say that Majors is innocent. But I also don't think that I would be able to convict him either. And in the end, muddy middle goes to the defendant.
It literally just broke 2 seconds ago, so I want to.
Is it on
bring
Twitter?
it up.
I don't see it.
Yeah, it's in Variety. All right, I got it. Here it is. Marvel Studios has parted ways with Jonathan Majors. A source close to the studio confirmed the decision to Variety. I did not expect it to happen that fast.
Yeah. Well,
did you?
Yeah, kind of. I'm not surprised. I think they've been making moves in anticipation of him being found guilty for the last few weeks. And I think this having one screenwriter write both of the Secret Wars movie, moving Destin Daniel Cretton off, I think they've been making moves. And let me tell you something. When the charges were announced, and remember his lawyer stepped forward and she was like saying, no, it's not true. None of this is true. I've got information, blah, blah, blah. Well, then a few days passed and some more of that information came out from the prosecutor side of things. All these things dropped Jonathan Majors. And that's when your team starts to drop you, it's because they have access to information that no one else has. You all sitting at home aren't going to have access to the information that these people have through their connections in Hollywood. That's how it works. And to me, that said to me that he was on the path to being found guilty.
There are people already just looking at the comment section, people who are saying that it's bullshit and they're not, and that Marvel jumped and shouldn't have done it in this and that. And they're going to get that. They're going to have that. But eventually, if they kept him on, I think it actually would probably be worse for them as far as business wise goes.
Yes.
These other things. The other thing that I will say this too, and again, I'm also prefacing the fact that I don't know all the details. I'm just seeing what I see out there. The other thing that was, to me, the most disturbing thing that I saw was some of those text messages. It could be a good thing that he's taken time away, and it maybe mentally, it's just not. He just needs a break. So I do want to, but I do have a special guest who's going to come in, texting me, and also hopefully people in the comment section as well too, because we heard your point, and I want to bring in.
I hope it's a black man. Is it a black man? Oh, thank God.
I think the thing that's interesting is knowing what specifically he was ultimately found guilty for, and it was for the putting her back in the car part of it is what that part was, and that's really because it's a criminal case. It's a harder burden of proof, and that was really the only evidence that they physically had because the driver's account did not match hers. It corroborated with what Jonathan was saying, or what he was presenting, and then the video, they show him running away, but the only thing that they show of him being any form of aggressive is trying to put her back into the car. Some people are going to go throw race into it. You can make that argument one way or the other. I think the other difference here on top of that is specifically Disney is already feeling like they're in trouble with what's going on with the MCU. You have a situation where you have a clean out where you don't necessarily have to explain anything. You have a criminal verdict found as well to be able to say, okay, we're just walking away from it. And I think you're watching a situation where, understandably so, because business is business, they don't want any of the smoke that could potentially come from keeping him on board. It makes more sense for them to walk away. I do hate.
Exactly. You're right.
I hate the double standard. I don't love the double standard that you still had Josh Brolin when he had something on his record. You have Jeremy Renner. Obviously, both of those are just allegations. They're not actual trials and all that. But you know what I'm saying? Like
But I think that's it though, Winston. I think that's it though, because I think when it comes down to it, the allegations is supposed to be like what we did say, and you and I said this on Friday as well too. Marvel didn't fire him with allegations. They fired him after a jury had convicted him. So the question is, would they have? And I don't know. I'm not discrediting a double standard. I think that's very absolutely happens all the time. But I'm just saying that it's,
of course,
would it have happened if Brolin had a guilty verdict? Would they have gotten rid of him? I don't know. Maybe not.
Right. And then the other thing real quick, because a lot of people I do see in the comments back and forth are like, what does race have to do with this? To ignore the fact that this is specifically a black man dating a white woman, dealing with a domestic violence case, and also knowing from the standpoint when you have things like Emmett Till and everything else that have gone on in this country, to pretend like that doesn't have some sort of factor is, to me, a little bit ignorant. Now, that is not the main focus of the case, but that doesn't mean that that's not something that is still needing to be acknowledged because of what the optics of it look like regardless. So like including even the fact that, you know, Jabari was brought in and arrested by the cops, and then they decided not to pursue it. And they called her and asked and said, please come in, we're going to do a formal arrest, but then we're not going to charge you. You know what I'm saying? Like there's little things here and there, even if that is standard procedure. People have to remember, just like Disney waiting until the verdict came out before they pulled the trigger, because it sounds like they were already ready to be done with this in the first place. There are still things known as optics, and that's why people are getting upset about stuff, and understandably so. Like, to act like that's not important, to me, is being willfully ignorant.
But I also want to say this and push back a little bit on what you were saying, Winston. There's also stuff with Jonathan in his past that wasn't allowed to be talked about in the courtroom, specifically a situation in London. So this wasn't like Jonathan had one fight with his girlfriend and throw him in prison. No, there was multiple incidents, not just with her, but with other people who came forward that was not allowed to be talked about in the courtroom. So all these people going like, he's being railroaded, he's innocent, he's all this kind of stuff. There's more here. Do the research. Don't just look at one thing. Read it all.
What happened exactly? Do you know?
No, I don't know. But she's unconscious. She's my ex-partner. We broke up. I came back. She sent me text messages insinuating this much. I stayed in a hotel last night. I came home this morning.
Police found Jabari.
Nah, bro. Bro, she looking like a corpse.
Jabari on the closet floor of their apartment. Majors was arrested by New York City police, accused by Jabari of assault, strangulation, and harassment.
Nah, I can't believe this. And then she's posing for photos and that. Nah, she's done you know. She set him up. If you man seen Gone Girl, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she done that to herself.
I was absolutely shocked.
What the fuck you shocked for? Look at your big black nose, blood. How could you ever be shocked about anything? I just don't understand, yeah, how as a black man you could be surprised by this. Serves you right, fam. Man said I was shocked. What's there to be shocked about, rude boy? Look at her.
And afraid. I'm standing there, and the verdict comes down. I say, how is that possible?
Cause you're black. That's how it's possible. You're the little skinny white English girl, bruv, and you're a black country ass American brother. What? You was never winning this.
Based off the evidence, based off the prosecution's evidence, let alone our evidence. How is that possible?
Easily. Tory Lane's in jail right now. You know, like that. With no evidence. We don't need evidence when you're black. Your black skin is the evidence, rude boy. You ain't got enough money for evidence to matter, fam. Ain't got enough.
After the verdict, in a statement, Jabari's attorney wrote in part, "Justice was finally served today, proving that the truth can prevail even in the face of power."
Nah, bruv, look at her. She's clapped. Oh my days. She saw you coming. You got finesse. Look at the state of it. Bro, don't take the white things that the white men don't want, bruv. If you ever see me with a grey thing, yeah, please believe that the white man are hating on me, bruv. Because I got the baddest one. The white man don't want that. That don't even make no sense. It's like you done them a favour. Look at the state of her. That's mad. Fuck, you know. Man got the white thing from the reduced section with the yellow sticker on it. Now I'm not doing that. You get me? If you see man running the streets with a snow bunny, man's running around with a Margot Robbie thing or like them Dua Lipa things that, you get me, the white man are going crazy over. Man ain't running around with this witch. You know, this is crazy. That don't even make no sense. Nah, if you ever see me with one of these, bruv, we'll run us both over.
Grace did not choose to be in this situation. Grace has been publicly attacked as a result of her courage to testify to the truth, but her unwavering resolve to see this case through to the end was born out of her desire to give other survivors similar courage when justice requires.
Survivors! Broski, we seen a video of you chasing this black brother down the street. What are you talking? Survive what? Bruv, he was trying to survive you.
Our relationship was, it was not healthy, you know, and that began to reveal itself over time, but there was no abuse.
In court, Jabari claimed she sustained head injuries, but never said how she received them. Entered into evidence these partially redacted text messages from September of 2022. Majors writes, "It's just fake. And I fear you have no perspective of what could happen if you go to the hospital. They will ask you questions, and as I don't think you actually protect us, it could lead to an investigation, even if you do lie and they suspect something.
Bumbleclot!
This is literally a nightmare. I don't know what happened. I don't know what injuries you're talking about.
The July...
Man said he don't know what injury she's talking about, bro. And I believe him, fam. I believe she set man up different.
I'm a monster, a horrible man, not capable of love. I'm killing myself soon. I've already put things in motion. Were you suicidal?
I've been diagnosed with severe depression.
Oh, get the fuck out of here, man. Every time shit goes sideways, man, them crying out mental health.
Jabari testified that it all began when Majors received a text from another woman.
Why you got the phone out just in front of your gal and that? Like, what are you doing? It's like he wanted to get caught. You know them ones, sometimes, yeah, man, them want to get caught on purpose, yeah, because that's the only way you can get a woman to leave you. Women don't leave you because you cheat on them. They leave you because they don't want to be with you. If a woman wants to be with you, cheating's not enough to get rid of her, man, damn. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not enough.
He says it read, "Oh, how I wish to be kissing you." So let's...
Oh, how I wish. Bruv, who the man cheating with some Shakespeare character, bruv? Who the like that?
Go back to March 25th for a moment. You and then girlfriend Grace Jabari are in the backseat of a chauffeured car. She sees a text from another woman. Things seem to spiral from there. Yeah. What happened next?
Yeah, the text from another woman. Again, I said at the beginning, you know, I did that.
Here it goes. Accountability, guys. It was all my fault. You know what I'm saying? I did that.
I did that. I copped to it. I show her, right?
Why did he show her? See? Bro, he showed her the phone. Because he thought that he could get rid of her by showing her the phone because he was too shook to leave her. Because he probably thought, initially, bro, he probably thought, you know, this girl's tapped enough to try and off herself, bro. You know, like that. That's the reason why he probably ain't left her. I bet you he's probably tried to leave her before and she said, oh, yeah, I'm going to jump.
It's in my hand. She grabs it. We scuffle for the phone. I pull the phone back. I receive my injuries. Oh.
Man said I received my injuries, fam.
She grabs me. She goes for the phone. I release. I get free of her and I run.
How could a woman say that she's scared of me, but she's running me down? Have you, man, ever seen them what's it, screaming that? Man's like, hey, Sydney. You know them ones there? You ever see Sydney running towards the brain with the shank? No, because she's scared. She running the other way.
Blocks.
Yeah, for blocks.
She says inside the car, fracture her middle finger.
Yeah.
Bruv, whatever.
Yeah, that did not happen.
Of course it didn't happen. Look at this guy. If he boxed her, she would have been finished.
What happened?
She went to grab the phone. I held the phone. I pulled the phone back. She came on top of me, squeezed my face, slapped me. That's all I remember.
So she ends up with a 1-inch cut behind her ear.
Laceration, yes, ma'am.
Fractured finger.
Yeah.
How did those injuries come about?
He don't know. Let me tell you lot something, yeah? Let's go back to this picture. That cut probably come from the back of her earring or something.
I wish to God I knew. That would give clarity. That would give me some type of peace about it.
Bruv, you don't care, bruv. You know that man said, give me some type of peace. You got a bad thing now. Man got Megan Good, fam. You know like that? You got Megan Good now. Man them saying, yeah, that after all this nonsense, she still went out to the club, bro. She was probably coked off her head in the first place. I wouldn't be surprised if that cut on her ear, yeah, weren't even him. And she might have got that later on that night somewhere else.
But you're confident you didn't.
I have no question.
What's interesting about the jury's verdict, it's so nuanced because they're saying you didn't intend to injure her.
Right.
Yeah, of course he didn't.
But the result of your recklessness injured her.
Right.
Were you reckless?
Recklessness, bro. You're attacking me and I have to restrain you, but I have to be delicate and I have to be aware of the fact. Nah, I'm aware of the fact that you piss me off. And I'm trying to protect myself now. I don't care about your safety no more. I'm worried about mine. I can't be worried about both of our safety. It's not my job to worry about your safety when you're attacking me.
I was reckless with her heart.
Not with her body.
Not with her body.
I was reckless with her heart, bruv. Shut the f up, man. Like, what is this? Who wrote this?
But never hit a woman.
Never hit a woman. My hands have never struck a woman, ever. When the actual testimony came, the driver said, she did everything, meaning Grace, he did nothing.
There you go. Man said the driver even attested that he didn't put hands on her. She attacked him. Yet he's the one that's in court, you know. And we got video evidence of this bro running from her. And the man got dropped from Hollywood, you know. And now he's probably going to have to put on a dress to get another job now. Because that's what they're going to do to your black ass now. Big Mama's House 4 and that.
These are photos, he says, are of his injuries, but were deemed inadmissible in court.
Bomber clot. Look, you can see that she scratched up man's... Look at how his skin's raised.
My injuries were, I had a scratch on my hand, you know, from clawing for the phone. And I had a gash on my, at the time I had a beard. Under my beard, I had essentially a fingernail scratch on my cheek.
Bro, she grabbed his face as well.
From pressure, you know.
You chose not to take the witness stand. Why?
Yes, ma'am. The driver.
You felt that was compelling enough. He had said enough.
Well, not just the driver, you know. She was doing everything, he was doing nothing. Well, that's what I was going to say.
There you go. He's like, why am I going to go on the stand here and tell you what another man that was actually there and saw it already told you? That even make no sense. This brother's thinking, you know what, I've got enough evidence, but guess what, you're black, bruv, so it's not enough. It's not enough, bruv. That's what man need to understand. This is the problem. Certain black men get money and forget they're still black. Man said, oh, I thought it was enough evidence, bruh.
Mr. Majors, did you see any injuries on her? No, I didn't. Clinical experts, the detective I spoke to, all who testified before I did. But after all of that, what was I going to add?
Jonathan, how do you feel During the trial, an audio recording was presented in court by the prosecution of Jonathan Majors and Grace Jabari during an argument.
How dare you come home drunk and disturb the peace of our house? Coretta Scott King. You know who that is? That's Martin Luther King's wife.
Man said, do you know who that is? Hey, I'm dead.
Michelle Obama. Barack Obama's wife. My temper, my shit, my trauma, blah, all that said, right? And let's say I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in. The woman that supports me, that I support, that needs to be a great woman.
Bro, man, like, you know that? You know what's amazing about this year? He's 100% right. Do you know what I'm saying? The problem with the situation is, yeah, if you need to tell the girl that you're with this, you know you've already chosen the wrong woman. Man said, how dare you come home drunk and disturb the peace? If you're a brother that's about your business, why are you wifing up a thing that goes out and comes home drunk? Why are you doing that? That means you don't rate yourself. Look at that conversation he was having with her. You need to put some inspirational music behind that. That's crazy. She's drunk. She don't want to hear that. Do you know what I'm saying? She's probably drunk, coked off her head, and you're talking about Michelle Obama. She don't give a about Michelle Obama. She's a skinny white girl from England, bruv.
There are some who question, especially in the black community, as you're probably well aware, that people were saying, well, why was he telling this woman to be like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama? Give us like the context of the...
Bruv, the context is obvious, bruv. I'm a man that is doing great things, innit? Or I aspire to do great things. So I need a supportive woman by my side. He used those examples because those are black men that he's looked up to in his life and they mean something to him. It's common sense, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not about a race thing. It's about the fact that that's the kind of woman I want beside me. A woman that's not going to embarrass me wherever I go. That's what a ride or die looks like. That's what he's saying. Don't embarrass me. And then the black women saying, yeah, well, if he wanted a, why is he with a white girl? It's not about the color of the girl, bro. It's about the character of the girl. You missed it.
It was me trying to give an analogy of what it is I'm aspiring to be. You know, these great men, Martin, President Obama, and trying to give a reference point to that.
Exactly. Common sense. Like, why does he have to explain himself? This is what I don't like.
I was attempting, and I did a terrible job at it, apparently. I was attempting to motivate, to enlighten, to give perspective.
That's what I'm saying. What did I tell you, man? Them when you get to the point where you're having these "I have a dream" speeches with your drunk white girlfriend, yeah, bro, tap out. You know, like that's too late.
As into what it is I was hoping to get out of the relationship. I think that's fair.
It's very fair. Man have to apologize for having standards now.
In her closing argument, your attorney said that your greatest fear of being a black man in America calling 911 came true, suggesting that race was a part of this. Do you feel that race is a part of this?
What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I mean.
He's like, come on now. You know what? He's like, come on now. What do you think?
Of course it is. You know, like, without question. I mean, that quote-unquote guilty verdict, you know, well, guilty verdict, no quote-unquote, you know, like, you might as well put that on my birth certificate.
100%. But you knew that when you shacked up with this road dog, skinny looking, you get me? What he's talking about? Look at her. She's dead.
You think a white man facing the same allegations would have been arrested, charged,
Hell no.
convicted?
I'll take it further. If you watch those videos and you reverse that, and you saw a black man chasing a young white girl down the street, screaming and crying, that man is going to be shot and killed.
Facts. 100%.
This motion here. And if you didn't already hear the news, and if you expected otherwise, it was denied. I don't think many people expected there was even a strong chance that a judge, the trial court judge, was going to say, oh, you're asking me to set aside these charges because I made an error, the court made an error. It's not very likely that that was going to happen anyway, but here we get to at least look at his reasoning why. Defendant first argues that his conviction of reckless assault in the third degree should be set aside because the court erred in submitting the count to the jury. This court disagrees. At the outset, contrary to defendant's contentions, the court submitted the count of reckless assault as an alternate theory to the intentional assault count, and not as a lesser included offense. And here, the evidence at trial, quote, did not compel the conclusion that defendant committed an intentional assault or no assault at all. Rather, there was a reasonable view of the evidence to support that defendant acted recklessly. During the people's case in chief, Ms. Jabari testified that after she grabbed defendant's phone, defendant tried to, quote, pry the phone out of her fingers, in that he was, quote, really trying to let her let go of the object she was holding, peeling it away as much as he could. The defense said, hey, it doesn't make sense that the jury could convict him on recklessness when the only evidence on the record all goes to intent. The words trying suggests intentional. But here Gaffey is making these quotes where the word trying is still included, but seems to be, well, it's not that he was trying to hurt her, but he was trying, the intent there was to try to get the phone. The recipient of the intent was the phone. Therefore, anything that could have occurred, that the jury could have inferred occurred to Grace Jabari during this time, could have been reckless, because his intent was only directed at the phone. I think that's a stretch of an argument personally, but I understand that a trial judge isn't going to weigh this in the effort of justice. That's something that an appellate court would do. Secondly, this line of argument right here kind of goes to the, you should have read the justification charge, sua sponte, because she had the phone and he was just trying to get it back. Here, Ms. Jabari testified that after she and defendant got out of the vehicle, defendant held her by her arms and tried to push her back into the vehicle. The people also introduced video evidence to corroborate her testimony. Such evidence clearly established that defendant subjected Ms. Jabari to physical contact. So he's saying that this part element here is met. Otherwise subjects such person to physical contact. He's not saying that it's clearly established that he's striking, shoving, or kicking. Such evidence clearly established that the defendant subjected Ms. Jabari to physical contact, and the jury reasonably could have inferred his intent from the conduct and surrounding circumstances. Such evidence clearly established, this video clearly established her testimony. So even though we only had her word, this video is really where we see clearly that there was physical contact. Clearly established this one element. This video clearly establishes physical contact. But then this rest of the sentence says, and the jury reasonably could have inferred his intent. So the other element required is not clearly established. Not clearly established. Just only could reasonably have been inferred from his intent. And he's saying also the surrounding circumstances. But if we speak about surrounding circumstances, what do we have before this? We have her testimony, which is contradicted by the driver. What do we have after? We have video evidence of right after this moment. What's the immediately surrounding circumstance here? He runs from her.
In what the white media has tried to treat like the trial of the century, Jonathan Majors has finally been sentenced for a crime he didn't commit. The judge said that he has to complete a 52-week in-person batterers intervention program in Los Angeles. And to boot, even the prosecution had to admit that he is, at least on paper, a first-time offender now, and that he shouldn't get jail time. What he should have gotten was probation and been done with it. But we all know this is about lynching black people by proxy, and white power never gets tired of that one. It's a guilty pleasure for them that never gets old. It's just like with Jussie Smollett. He went from being a D-list nobody to apparently being the most famous black man in America because, well, reasons. It's ridiculous, but everyone knows you can easily weaponize whiteness, so if you accuse a black person of anything, it doesn't matter if you're the one who committed the crime. The system's not set up to punish violations of the law. It's set up to facilitate the mass incarceration of black people, which is exactly what happened. And the white media's been on vigil waiting for the sentence to be handed down. The New York Times, which never cares about black celebrities most of the time, was putting out stories in February, months after the conviction, trying to bias and sway an already heavily prejudiced judge, claiming Jonathan Majors has abused women before. First of all, there's no proof of this claim. Secondly, when someone's on trial, it's only for whatever the alleged crime is, not for any other accusations that somebody might be making on the sidelines. So even so, the claim is irrelevant. But that's only the case if you have an actual working system of justice. We don't live under a system of justice. We live under a system of white supremacy. The white media puts their thumbs on the scale as usual, and they're hoping to lay the groundwork for any civil suits that the accuser's bringing, and we all know that train's never late. She's already filed one federal lawsuit against Majors claiming assault, battery, defamation, and inflicting emotional distress, claiming he subjected her to escalating incidents of physical and verbal abuse. She's throwing everything against the wall to see if anything will stick. What she's doing is she's weaponizing white privilege, and of course it works. So she's trying to hit the lawsuit lottery here. This is the old courtroom two-step. Make an accusation, count on a racist injustice system to make convicting the black man a mere formality, and then after the predictable conviction, sue him in civil court and claim that the criminal conviction is evidence of civil liability. But there's something else I want to know. Whatever happened to all those angry white guys who were making such a big deal about the Johnny Depp defamation trial? Well, in this case, you have an instance where Jonathan Majors has video evidence proving he was unquestionably innocent, and yet he didn't become a cause celeb for the angry white commentariat. The so-called men's rights activists were and are nothing more than a clumsy front for the same old white supremacist garbage, but a lot of you fell for it. Jonathan Majors had far more evidence of his innocence than Johnny Depp ever did, but Johnny Depp was never even so much as charged. So, was Majors railroaded because he's a man? Or because he's black? Now, when you get enough moral honesty and intellectual courage to answer that question truthfully, you'll perhaps understand why the men's rights crap is no more relevant to black men than feminism is to black women. They're both two types of the same fraud.